where our vision is to prepare African Americans for leadership and management positions around the world. And we do this by providing training, coaching, and exposure to top level business professionals. I am your host, Antoine Wade, and today I have another episode of the On Your Journey podcast of Mr. Jerry Lewis. Jerry and I went to school together, and we spent many late nights working on presentations and pitches. One thing I can say about Jerry is that this guy brings the energy. He leads with energy. He's an energetic person, and he's always exciting to be around. Jerry is an enterprise solution director at AT&T. He has 10 years of experience as an innovative, large organizational leader with a strong technical foundation, consistently transforming existing businesses to outpace growing demands. Jerry, let me introduce you.
Got that right.
Well, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, man. Happy New Year, brother.
Thank you, man.
So, I don't know if you noticed, but I decided to go to Jerry Lewis style. Check it out. New year, no hair, man. Bald head.
Dang. That's the way you do it, man. That's the way you do. Low maintenance, man. Low maintenance.
It is.
Low maintenance.
It is very low maintenance, man. I get up in the morning and shower and may shave or may not shave, but it's very low maintenance.
There you go. Work it, man. That's how you work it.
Yes, sir. So, guys, let's make this interactive. I have folks in YouTube. I have folks on live, Facebook Live. And if anybody who's watching this, please join in, ask questions. Today's theme is actually going to be bringing your energy. As I mentioned, Jerry's a very energetic person, and he can teach us a thing or two about energy. But before we get into that, let's find out a little bit more about Mr. Jerry Lewis. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a lightning round of this or that. Give me a minute. Let me get my my timer settings going so that I can keep this going up here. Yeah, I got a timer, guys. A little bit, you know. I'm technology. I'm advanced, my man.
All right, dude.
All right, so give me 1 second, Jerry. All right, we got Mr. Clark Wade in the house. We also got Mr. Christopher Wade in the house, my cousin. What's up, guys? My brother and cousin on the chat. If you guys have any questions for Mr. Lewis, please feel free to ask him. So let's get this timer started. Boom. All 2
right.
minutes, Jerry. Lightning round. Here we go. All right.
Go for it.
Spring or fall?
Spring.
Winter or summer? Brunch or lunch?
Brunch.
Night owl or early bird?
Night out.
Dark meat or white meat?
Dark meat, man.
Jordans or Nikes?
Jordans.
Black or white?
Black.
The Crosby Show or Family Matters?
Crosby Show.
Right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed, man.
UFC or boxing?
Boxing.
Basketball or football?
Football, of course. Giants. Giants, man.
Giants, all right. Okay, what about Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Wow. Netflix or YouTube? You chose Netflix. Wow. All right, texting or phone call?
Texting.
Work hard or play hard?
Play hard.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Collard greens or mac and cheese?
Both.
All right. What about McDonald's or Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Car or plane?
Plane.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Bacon or sausage? I know you eat pork. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So cardio or weights?
Cardio.
Wow. Rich friend or lawyer friend? And that's the last question. Rich friend or loyal friend?
Loyal friend.
All right. Okay. That's Mr. Jerry. That's a lightning round. I think we have a good assessment of you, my man.
I think I got all those right.
That's why it's this or that. There's really no right answer.
All right.
So we also got Mrs. Tamara Wade in the house. Hi, Tamara. How are you? I hope you're doing well today. We got the quite a bit of people on the chat today. We live. So let's get into this. I want to kick this thing off, and I want the folks outside of the lightning round that we just had to know a little bit more about you, Jerry. So tell everyone where you're from and give them a story of how you grew up.
Okay, cool. All right, Jerry Lewis, currently living in Alpharetta, northern suburb of Atlanta, but I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Yep. Fort Greene projects, for those who know about Fort Greene. Went to high school at Brooklyn Tech in Brooklyn, in Fort Greene, and spent a lot of time mostly in the Fort Greene project and Farragut projects because in those days you didn't want to stray too far from your area because you may go into the wrong territory and have to scoot your way back real quick. So most of my life has been around Fort Greene, the area where Spike Lee likes to hang out and film movies. The better part of the project's not like Brownsville, where I think Tyson's from, or Marcy, where Jay-Z is from, right? So, like I said, Fort Greene is a premier projects. So, up there, that was pretty cool because you learn a lot. You actually find out what you really need to know from a street standpoint, and also from the perspective of what's happening in the area, in the cities of New York, right? And that area is right near Brooklyn Heights, so it's nothing but a bridge walk across over to get to Manhattan. So the lifestyle there was Brooklyn and Manhattan mostly. Nowhere near the Bronx, nowhere near Queens, unless I was visiting relatives in that area. So that's where I get my background and most of my upbringing. All right.
Brooklyn, look at that, man. In New York, and you still have the accent too, man.
Nah, not as much. It comes out when I need. It comes out when I need it, right? But I try to kind of tone it down.
So tell everyone where you're currently living today.
All right, so I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia. Like I said, it's northern part of Atlanta.
Yep.
Prior to going to Alpharetta, I lived in Orlando, Georgia, a little bit in California, a little bit up in the northern part of New Jersey. So a couple of years over in the area of Cincinnati, and that's basically due to moving around with the company I'm in.
Got it.
But for the most part, it's been Georgia, New York, and then also in Atlanta when I was at Georgia Tech.
Got it. Very cool. We got some more people in the chat. Hello, Ashley. Hello, Tiffany. Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the show tonight. So, Jerry, tell everyone about your education. And then, go into your field of choice when you were getting your education, and what it has done for you.
Okay. My field of choice was electrical engineering. That's my bachelor's, right? And basically, I went in that space because growing up, I always gravitated towards technical items. And as I grew up in pretty much stayed in attack, like I said, went to Brooklyn Technical High School. So, but those who know about New York, you either go to your zone high school or specialized school. And growing up in Fort Greene, our zone school was Eastern District High School, which was notorious for, I would say, I won't call it fights, but it was one of those cases where you didn't want to go to Eastern District, so I made sure I got into a technical school outside of the projects, and so that was Brooklyn Tech, right? And so with that technical desire, when I went to Georgia. I wanted to go into something in that space, and I ended up at actually Georgia Tech, where I studied engineering. So that's my primary education there. And then from there, I was basically getting an MBA at Georgia Tech later on, which is where I met you, dude. But again, technical aspirations is what really drove me when it comes down to my education.
Absolutely, absolutely. And tell everyone why did you choose that, right? Because you went to Brooklyn Tech, right? Then you went to Georgia Tech for your undergrad and for your MBA as well, in engineering, right? So tell everyone why you chose that path to go in technology. What was fascinating about it?
Yeah, so I really like areas of like math, science, and that type of stuff. I couldn't stand liberal arts, right? At Tech, basically, I wanted to just get out of the English and history so I could get into the math and science stuff. And then from there is basically, wanting to do things around, I wouldn't call it technology field stuff, but really get into stuff where it was like innovation, right? So I was always looking at areas where you can actually make things from a technical standpoint and have the challenges in that space. Right? So everything to me was in that area. And that's primarily the reason I went in that space.
Smart man. Continue
on with
What's up, Mr. Ramon? We got Ramon in the house too, Jerry.
Uh-oh.
I know it's going to be some trouble tonight, man. Ramon, what's up, brother?
I hope he doesn't bring up any weird stuff today, but.
How you doing, Miss Patricia Wade? That's my mother. How you doing, moms? All right.
Yeah.
So Jerry, you have your master's. You're an engineer. Tell people what you're an expert at today.
From a standpoint of being an expert, I would say, based on my experience of managing like really large teams across I'm right now, AT&T, it got to the point where I started specializing in how you take large organizations, right? Look at how you drive them toward the strategy or vision of where the business is going. And then starting to understand not only the team structure, but understand the individuals within the teams. And through that, you start understanding how to either drive people through a vision or drive them through motivation, right? And so you find cases where you have stagnant teams that really have to figure out how they move forward through all the team dynamics and all the issues working through. And then you start a skill set of just walking in a large team, figuring out what needs to be done to move them forward, and then naturally, drive them towards success, right? So from an expert standpoint, and I won't call myself an expert, but I naturally gravitate towards going in large organizations, finding out what's wrong, and then getting everybody motivated to go forward and what they need to do. And it's fun. It's fun. You have the challenge of the people who are like slugs that need pushing, and then you have some people who really want to move forward real fast. But they just need someone to point them in the right direction. Key is trying to make sure that which approach is suitable for that person or that team.
So talk about that. Yeah. So let's go into that further, Jerry. So you like leading and transforming teams,
right?
When you have such a large organization, especially ones that you've managed, talk about how you've approached transforming a team. What's your management and leadership style?
Okay. Typically, I try to get to the point where the team is self-managed. They're doing because they fully understand the ownership of the decisions, right? Ideally, I like to get a team to the point where they understand that the decisions that are made are going to affect them, their jobs, and how well they do in terms of performance. And so when there's a choice to make, I don't readily try to drive that as the leader of the organization. I try to get them to own the choice, make sure they understand the implications, so they have to live with it, right? Because if you're leading a team and you try to dictate what to do, they have the tendency to feel like, okay, you came up with it. If we fail, it was your call, right? But if you get them to own it, then they know they have to live with it. they can't come to you and say, hey, why did you come up with it, right? So it drives better decisions, it drives ownership for the decisions, and that drives an organization that takes charge for what their future is going to look like. Now, you just don't get there right away, but once you get there, then it's pretty much smooth sailing. It's not much for a leader to do from there, but provide a vision, give the team the opportunity and the authority to make decisions going forward, and then they're self-managed, basically.
So talk about, you talked about your leadership approach, right? It's providing that vision and getting them to buy into that vision and own it, right? So that they can feel part of that. That's what leaders do, right? Leaders are influencers of behavior. Talk to the people about how you get them to buy in. What is that process like? Does that mean talking to every individual? What is your process that you use to get the buy-in?
Okay, the one I use most is most of the times you get into an organization, they're used to a strong top-down leadership where those who are within the working level aren't used to taking ownership for decision making. They kept out of the planning sessions and so forth. What I typically do is I won't say disrupt the organization, but I bring as many people as possible in on the information gathering sessions that are typically just held for the top leadership within the organization. So I involve them in the upfront information. I give them more proprietary information that they don't normally get, so that they understand what's in the background and what's driving decisions. And that sort of shocks them initially because they're not used to it. But once they get that, then I sit back and say, hey, this is what I have to use to make a decision. What would you do? And drive leadership meetings to get there. And then when it comes down to owning initiatives and so forth, it's not who is the highest ranking manager, it's who has the passion to actually take the lead. And it doesn't matter where you stack up in the ranks of the organization. You're the lead for that initiative. You get the members required to make it happen, and then you lead it going. And it's a little different than just having the overall managers take over.
Yep. No, that's a good feedback. That's really good feedback. Is getting them involved, right? And in
the way they're not used to, right? Getting involved in a way that's not traditional, right?
And that's building trust too, Jerry.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And information is very important, right? And letting somebody in on, what's the secrets, what's the reason behind some of the decisions. You can help make the decision as a team, right? That's getting people bought in, absolutely.
Yep. And that works for me every place I go, basically. It's changed the environment and the expectations to the point where they're not sitting there waiting for me to tell them what to do. It's basically getting them information up front, having broader and more expanded team meetings so that everyone's involved in what's happening up front, and then let them take ownership for it.
So you work at AT&T, sorry.
Yep.
You're a Wi-Fi director, right? What's the largest team that you currently manage or have managed in the past?
The largest team I've managed was a team of around 350 or so people.
Wow.
And it was a real broad, diverse type team in terms of functions. It included, I'd say around 160 or so with union employees, and then a complement of managers with different functions across the organization. And so it's pretty cool when you bring them all in a meeting and you talk about the decisions coming up, you talk about where the business is going, and you share the decision you have to make. It's kind of weird watching the union leaders think through about, why is he telling me this? Why is he sharing it? Is there a catch to it, right? And then over time, they see that that's just how I'm managing your teams. And eventually they look forward to getting involved, coming up with joint decisions, and help drive what we have to do as a business.
That's a large organization.
Yeah, it's good. The cool part is, like I said, when you have the team members who really want to push it forward,
Yeah.
Getting them involved and giving them the authority, that's kind of the sweet spot,
Yeah.
right? That's how you get it done.
Very good. We have Mr. Billy Rowe in the house, and we have Mr. Ramon. He said, "You know it's coming, brother." So
take it easy on me. Take it easy on me.
So tell everyone, Jerry, we talked about your education, talked about how you grew up. Tell everyone how you ended up in your career at AT&T. Just tell a short story on, how you got into your role and how quickly you rose up the ranks at AT&T.
Okay. So I started out as an electrical engineer, honestly, out before AT&T with Georgia Power as an electrical engineer as part of a nuclear power plant. So I was the electrical engineer responsible for the engineer design for the containment building that holds the actual nuclear reactor. So doing that for a couple of years, I eventually got picked up by AT&T, specifically for having an engineering degree.
Wow.
They were looking to see their management ranks with more individuals with technical backgrounds, because they wanted to drive more of a technical, logical set of thinking around how they start managing the business. So they pulled me in as part of one of their leadership development programs. Right. And so the intent was to take a technical engineering person and make them into a more of a supervisor and eventually manager across the business.
And talk about that a little bit more in detail, Jerry. So, you came from Georgia Power, you worked as an electrical engineer, you got tapped on the shoulder by AT&T in a leadership development program, which is, I think leadership development programs are absolutely excellent for the companies that offer them.
Right.
Talk about how that has helped you continue to rise and accelerate your career growth.
Okay. So through that type of program, they actually connect you with senior leaders of the business with the intent of grooming you for future positions across the company. Right. So you'll come in similar to a college hire perspective, but you come in with the intent of moving around, getting knowledge across all aspects of the building of the business, so that you can get groomed to manage larger and larger components of the organization. Right. So initially, I was brought in to manage a whole engineering challenge of diverting all the telemetry across the country into like one location. From there, I had to go to Orlando to manage field force, outside field force, and that was the first time I had people reporting to me. From Orlando, after spending a couple of years there, up to New Jersey to be a quality manager to help with the quality processes across the company for just 2 years. Then it was with the AT&T Bell Laboratories organization, which was looking at how do you redesign and do different types of engineering improvements across the company. And then from there, back to Atlanta to manage a larger team of outside field forces, technical resources, and teams that are responsible for their network. And then groomed from there to manage teams that actually work in some of their large call centers in California and Atlanta. And the whole process was constantly putting me in different roles that were totally different from the previous role, to make sure I understood how to handle different parts of the business. So I never really stayed in a role more than 2.5 to 3 years before I was doing something different in the business, and then constantly moving up there. And that's a strategy for growing like the broad set of knowledge across their business leaders.
No, that's excellent. I when I think of this, Jerry, and before I get to this comment, yes, Billy, people like to have a hand on their destiny once they have a taste of being included in decision-making process. That is great leadership. Absolutely. That was from Mr. Billy Rowe right here, great YouTuber. Check out his channel. He gives some inspiration and also have some really good talks about leadership himself too on Tuesdays. But absolutely, that's right, Billy. you mentioned, change and always being challenged, and that's what the leadership development program
Yeah.
does. And one
Yes.
thing that when you told your story just now, Jerry, you talked about you having to move, right? You
Yeah.
went to Orlando,
Oh
you
yeah.
went to New Jersey, you went to AT&T, or you went to Bell Labs, right? You came back to
Yep.
Atlanta. Um,
Then it was California
then
after
it was,
that.
and see, that's, talk about
Yeah.
that, right? Because that takes commitment. A lot of people sometimes don't do it. That's an opportunity that comes up. Talk about that
Yep.
and in being committed at your job to know that you're in a leadership development program, accepting that
Right.
and executing on that. Talk about that.
Okay. To your point about moving, right? It's a scenario where you accept the fact that you're not going to sit in a position for a long period of time.
Hmm.
And it's not a case where, in my situation, it wasn't a case where I had to keep looking for my next assignment. It was basically, performing in a way that they would set up your next move and basically look at needs across the business where they had a challenge that they needed to send someone in to make a difference.
Hmm.
And then they'll say, hey, we have an assignment for you in another location. And it wasn't a case where they would say, hey, you'll move in like a month from now. In some cases, I'll be talking to someone on a Thursday and I'll say, when will I start? And they'll say Monday. So then no, literally, it depends on the situation, right?
Yep.
And so it was one of those things where they're looking out for you and they're also looking out for the business. But that's something, if you want to go that route, then you accept that. And then you're known as someone who can go and make those changes to, make a difference in different parts of the business and are willing to do that
Yep.
as you expand your career and
Yep.
grow.
Yep.
But that I had to make a lot of moves to do that.
Hmm.
But it was well worth it. I love moving anyway because I got to see a lot of parts of the country doing it,
Yep.
and living in a lot of different places.
No, that's wonderful, Jerry. That's a similar path that I'm on today, right? I mean, like when I signed up with the E2 Open. Of course,
Yep.
my initial move was supposed to be to Austin, and then of course I got relocated to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and
Wow.
was tapped on the shoulder for another role
Hmm.
into a sales organization here back in the U.S., and which brought me back to San Jose. And
There you go,
I'm
man.
currently getting tapped on the shoulder again for
It
potentially
happened.
Austin,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Right. You never know what's going to happen, right? And
it's
what I
it.
found is
Go ahead,
a
sir.
lot of organizations they find people like that, and
Hmm.
they leverage that person's desire to make a difference, have changes in what they're running and managing, and it's a benefit to the company and the person because a lot of people don't like that.
You're absolutely right, Jerry. Right. A lot of people don't like it. I think there's more people that wouldn't do it that would do it, but especially as being an African American, right? What I've
Mhm.
seen is that if you want to continue to move up, you have to be committed, right? You have to,
Right.
and this is not just for African Americans, this is just for anybody who wants to go up the corporate ladder, but specifically
Right.
for African Americans, you have to be flexible. If you want to make money,
Right.
you have to put in the work. You have to be the best at it. If you're in a leadership development program, you get that opportunity to do so.
Right.
You may have to drop everything that you're doing and take a flight to Singapore, or matter of fact move to Africa, right? But that is the commitment that you have to give in order for you to gain the skills that you need to continue to move up the ladder, right?
Right. Now the thing is, if you have a person who's career minded and want to make moves in a career, I,
Hmm.
I wonder how many of them really know that that's the sort of not the model, but that's a key aspect
Hmm.
of making a difference, right? Because even after I got out of the leadership development program, I still pushed to make those things happen on my own,
Mm.
right? It was a
Mm.
case where I wouldn't settle for remaining in a spot or within a function long enough to get stale,
Yep.
right? So,
Mm.
so I initiated things like that because I knew that was the model for keeping it moving and going forward.
I think we may be twins, brother, because I don't like stale. I don't like anything stale. You know, my wife, you know, my wife has been on board for this, and I must say she's, you know, the best person in the world. And because, you know, she's dropped her career in order for me to really
Yeah.
focus on mine, which has been a benefit to our entire family, right?
Right.
And let's talk about this. Let's talk about having a partner. And I know this is way off the questions, but I think this is a really good segment, Jerry. And
Okay.
um, we're giving our experience from being, you know, executives at, you know, a company, right? The companies that we
Right.
work for, and the things
Right.
that we've had to do in order for it to continue to climb, which is
Right.
pretty much available just about anyone if they put themselves in that position.
Right.
Talk about having a partner that allows you to do that, because some people, you know, may be in that position right now where they have an opportunity coming up, or they know
Right.
of opportunities that they want to go for it, but don't have the support from a potential partner. How important is it to have a partner that's on board for these sort of career advancements from their husbands or for their wives?
Yeah, it's a give and take, of course, right? And it depends on, both can have careers, and the question is, which career is primary,
Mm,
right? And you can call it that versus any other term, but it has to be understood and agreed upon. And if it is, right, then the other person understands that, yeah, you might move, change, but it's to the benefit of both,
right.
and everyone's gonna you know reap the benefits of it, right?
Yep.
So that has to be known up front.
Yep. Yep.
Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Yeah,
So,
but
guys,
but
if you're single and you have career aspirations, before you start the dating, let your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend know up
yeah,
front that you may be moving. You're open to opportunities, and those opportunities may take you just about anywhere.
yeah, because the cool part when it happens is not like you have a long time to
Right.
decide.
Right.
Because when they come to you, something's going on. They feel like you're the person for it,
Yep.
and they typically saying, we need you somewhere,
Yep.
right? And it's always a short duration. Every time for me, it's sort of short. So,
Yep. Yep.
but that is a challenge.
It is. It is. Miss Diana Rodriguez is in the house. She said Ken Smith. I don't know who that is, Diana, but I would love to know more. Mrs. Tiffany Wade says, how do you handle or juggle the constant moving? Do you have a family, Jerry? Or when you have
Yeah,
a family, sorry.
yeah. Well, when I first did a lot of moving, right, that was mostly when my children were like, it's so funny, right? The first location we were in was Conyers, Georgia, and my son was, he was just born in Conyers.
Hmm.
So we moved from Conyers to Orlando. We spent 2 years in Orlando. So then we moved to New Jersey, and when he was 4 or 4.5 years old, he literally said, "Hey, Dad, are we gonna move soon?" And I kind of freaked out, right? So he was already in a mode of
Yep.
moving,
Yep.
right? And to take it back from there, we were in an apartment in Conyers for like 6 months, then moved to a house in Conyers, then moved to Orlando, then moved to New Jersey, and he was like 4 years old after that whole cycle, and then that's when he said something about moving. And check this out, lo and behold, a year and a half later, I moved to Jersey and moved to Georgia.
Well, so here's the thing, right? It's what I've seen, Tiffany, and just to kind of follow up on what Jerry just said, your kids, they're adaptable, especially if they've gone through it. And not only that, it's exciting to them, right? So, what the experience that you give them, they're always going to remember. Positions that you put them in, they're always going to remember. They're very adaptable. Especially if you're adaptable. If it's time to go,
Right.
they're going to follow mommy and daddy. And if the support and love is there, they're absolutely going to follow. I know a lot of people, from living overseas who that's their thing. They work for the U.S. Embassy. Every 2 or 3 years, they're somewhere else. And they have kids in high school, where, today it's probably one of the most critical part in school for a lot of people, but they love the fact that they get to be, reintroduced as somebody else every 2 or 3 years, right? And create a new identity for themselves, right? That's exciting.
Right.
I find that to be quite exciting. So kids in general are adaptable, but also at the same time, I think, us being put in these roles, we have to be adaptable too.
Yeah, and I think it's no coincidence that my son, by the time he was like 26, he traveled to Taiwan. He lived in Alaska.
Yep.
He lived in Baltimore. He lived in Houston. He lives in Atlanta now, and he's been in Costa Rica. So he has a knack for just wanting to be different places.
Yep.
A lot.
Yep.
So, and I'm wondering if that's part of how he grew up, and he's just naturally, want to go places.
Yep. Yep. Very awesome. Tiffany, I hope that answered your question. Mr. Billy Rose said, a lot of us limit our growth by treating home as an anchor. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not people being scared to take risks. I look at it this way. You can only see what is ahead of you, so many feet. God gave us a vision. It's not an infinite vision. So when you take on opportunities, you don't know what's ahead of you, but you have to be able to be fearless and take that risk to know that you can, and also know that you can figure it out as you get into it, right? So don't be scared, right? If you think about getting in a car and going somewhere and it's dark, it's the same thing. If you get in the car and crank the engine up, you don't turn on your lights, you can't see anything. More than likely, you're not going to go. But when you do turn on the lights on, there's vision, but it isn't unlimited vision, right? There's only to a certain distance that you have to go, right? So take the risk. That's what I'm saying, because you only have the little bit of vision that you have, which is that little bit of knowledge in the business world. And then as you continue to creep along, it goes further. So you're figuring it out along the way. So you're absolutely right. Don't be anchored by your home, and don't be scared to take risks, because figuring it out as you go, I think that's the fun part about it as well. And you don't have to have perfection in order for you to, create opportunities or take opportunities or take risks when things come up. Mr. Rowe also said, when did traveling for opportunities become intentional for you, or has that mentally always been the case for you?
It was part of what I had to do initially, right, as part of the leadership program. But after that, you get over, to your point, the fear.
Yep.
Right. Once you get over the fear in the fact that you can't name too many people or know too many people that actually made those changes and something went wrong. Yep. Right. It's always something good. So once you get over that, then you sort of look forward to it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny. It got to the point where literally I had probably like 15 or 16 or more different assignments or jobs at AT&T. And it's the point when I go into an organization, people already know me from being leading a lot of teams. So they'll say, okay, Jerry's been here a year. My experience is whenever he goes to an organization, he leaves after 2 years or 3 years. So the new team I have will say, hey, how long are you going to be here? And I know, seriously, it's weird. It's like, so it's known that I'm not going to be there long. So when I go into an organization, it comes up and I say, yeah, I typically don't stay that long. I like to drive forward and then move on, and they know it, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It actually it inspires some of those who are looking to make waves or do things to say, okay, maybe I want to do something like that.
Yep. Well, you're absolutely right. I would agree with that. For me personally, one of the things that I chose to do after university was work in Waukesha, Wisconsin, for quite some time, but about 6 or 7 months after that, I realized that that wasn't the place I wanted to be, right? And I got an opportunity to move down to Atlanta, and I took that opportunity, right? So that was more of intentional for me, working for the same company. But as I continue to, rise and climb the corporate ladder, it has been something that I had to do in order for me to create more opportunities for myself, right? If there's a demand for you in an area and your leaders are saying, I know you can tackle this, Antoine, I know you can solve this for us, we would like for you to do it. It's a great experience to do that. Not only that, it just feels good that you have people that want to see you succeed, but also at the same time, they're nominating you for that. I think that's it is a huge positive that you have people to say, wow, you know what? I have the right person who can solve this challenge for us. And this person I want to sponsor, because you think about it, that's what they're doing when they nominate you for these sorts of positions. They're sponsoring you, right? They're putting their neck on the line because it looks bad upon them to even allow you to have that opportunity too, right?
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, it's a give and take. You got to perform, and then once you do that, it's like a continuous cycle, right? They want you to do something else after you do perform in a certain role.
Absolutely.
But it's
so. Go ahead. Sir. What were you saying, Jay?
No, that was it.
Okay. So let's get to the theme of this podcast, and we haven't gotten there because we had some. Some good story times about our professional lives and things that we've done. The theme of this is bringing the energy, right? And being energetic. Right. You are an energetic leader. I just remember, grad school doing pitches and presentations with you. Guys, I'm telling you like this. Jerry can go from 0 to 100 real quick. What you're seeing on camera right now is Jerry energetic, but he's probably at like 0 right now. When this guy wants to turn it on, he is at 100, and he's at 100 real fast. So talk about why being energetic is important, Jerry.
Okay, for me, it's my brand, as I like to say, right? So it's one of those things where initially, you go into an organization, you look at the leadership, and you try to model yourself after what you think is success or what's acceptable from a leadership perspective, right? Yet you have something about you that you either expand on and leverage, or you kind of put in a bottle, right? So what I found is that, every time I went into meetings or a part of certain situations, I always was the person who wanted to kind of have fun with the issue, create the challenge, have the competitive environment. And it was one that I really had fun with, right? And so over time, it got to the point where as I came into certain situations, they looked forward to that, and that's what they wanted, because that was the component that I brought to the situation, right? So over time, you have fun with it. Right. And that's part of just knowing that when you go into a scenario, you're going to look for what's going to drive enthusiasm, what's going to drive people to kind of think out of the box and start, having fun with what they're trying to do and not be afraid of doing something different. And then you create a different dialogue with that. Right. You create an atmosphere of looking at possibilities without being judged and actually coming up with ideas that may or will fail. Right. I always tell the organizations I will come up with a ton of crazy ideas. Right. Some of them will stick and some won't. But the whole intent is to exploit everything. Right. And so I just love doing it on a regular basis in every team I'm on, and they look forward to it. So that's cool for me. Like I said, that's what I like to bring.
And talk about that, Jerry, because not everyone is energetic. Right. So I want to get it from you, because a lot of people have different leadership styles or things that work for them that a lot of people can't emulate. For example, you are a 0 to 100 energy guy, right? And you can get people going, and that's your style. And when you present, it doesn't matter what it is, you're always captivating. A lot of people don't have that. where does that come
Right.
from you? Is that how you wired? Is that something that you learned, that you emulated from someone? Because you did mention that when you're in positions and you see, successful leaders, you try to emulate them. Is that something that you've worked on, or is that just your natural, what God has given you, is being an energetic person? Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, most of it is natural, right? But
Hmm.
the key for me is that um, once I understood that individuals have a component of themselves that's going to be different and stronger than most in certain areas, and how that is what you need to use to leverage your success, then I start expanding on it and stop capping it in certain scenarios, right?
Mm.
I learned to real understand that it's a positive, and just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong.
Hmm.
It's something that drives me, and it's something that actually makes a difference in an environment that I'm in,
Mm.
right? So, but like I said, so that's me, and I use it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's one of those scenarios where people know that I would do that. They will call me in a meeting. It's kind of funny. Wow, this is going to be pretty boring. Why don't you lead it off? I'll say sure. It doesn't matter to me. And it really doesn't matter if I'm like the expert on the topic, because the intent is not for me to like come up with the ideas and shine. It's for me to get everybody going,
Yeah.
and then it goes from there. Sometimes when I do that, and then the rest of the room picks up from there, and the team moves forward, I sit back and let them have fun.
Hmm.
Because I just like to see it happen. And then once it's ignited, then the cool part for me is like, cool, they're all there, right?
Mm.
People doing things who don't normally do things like that.
So where do you get this energy from? Jerry, is it because you get, because obviously, there's so much that goes into energy
Uh-huh.
and having high energy, right? Eating, working
Yep.
out, diet, all sorts of
Yep.
stuff. Where do you keep
Yep.
your energy? Where do you get your energy from?
Uh, from that standpoint, most of mine is from working out.
Mm.
I like running. When you said something about cardio or weights, even though I like doing a lot of weights,
Yeah.
the cardio to me is like the key. I like running 5K races, 10K races, every
Mm.
once in a while a half marathon. I'm not fast, right? But I just like doing it.
Mm.
And so, going to the gym every morning when I can,
Yep.
most days, that gets you amped up. When you go in, you have that kind of energy going before you go into your sessions and so forth.
Yep.
But I keep a regimen of constant exercise and activity, which I think contributes to it for the most part.
Awesome. Awesome. So, folks, if you're watching this live, do me a favor, jump on your YouTube channel, like the video, and subscribe to it. Of course, that's always going to help with viewership. If you're watching this on Facebook, jump over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button and the like button on the video, guys. That helps with the overall Black Heights marketing, and it helps me grow the overall platform. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're just jumping into it right now, I appreciate you guys all for watching. If you've been watching it from the start, I really appreciate you from joining with us today. Tamara Wade says, "How do you prepare yourself for these opportunities, especially when it's short notice, Jerry?" So we're kind of going back to the opportunities and being adaptable, being flexible. I can't even speak right now. Being flexible, yeah,
Uh-huh.
in your
Okay, so
career.
yeah, when you say preparation, right? Once you get used to wanting change and being part of dealing with change, you get in the mindset where there's not really a lot from a preparation standpoint. It's just the fact that you're going to get a challenge, right? And
Hmm.
for me, it matters what it is, right? Because, like I said, more than half the time they put me in another organization or another group or have me take on something, it's something that I'm not that familiar with at all.
Hmm.
Yet they know I can go in and make a difference, because the whole intent is to bring someone in who's going to do something different, right? So
Hmm.
it's not a lot about, I'm prepared for that next role. It's basically you're prepared to lead something,
Right.
right? And you're not doing it because the organization is doing it. You just need to to lead the people and lead them towards what they need to do.
Yeah.
And the information is there. The team can do it. You just have to be the type who can get them to do it, like they should.
No, that's a good.
No fear in that. No fear in that at all.
No, that's a good response there, Jerry. So what I wanted to do here is kind of talk about Black Heights and what's your thoughts on Black Heights and this initiative? Talk about that, Jerry.
Okay. Well, it was kind of interesting because when you talk about the scenario around what percent of African Americans are in certain positions, how it's disparaging to the point where it's low, right? And the key is, how do you grow it, right? Yeah. Most companies they do their best to try to make that a difference in the organization and leverage that, but they do it, I don't say haphazardly, but it fluctuates, right? A lot of times they'll have a concerted commitment to make it happen, and then it'll die out. They'll come back. Yep. But having an organization that focuses on that on a regular basis provides some foundation for growing that within organizations, right? Providing, like you said, either training, coaching, or helping drive that so it happens deliberately versus haphazardly. Yep. Key. Yep. It's here, like I said, companies are successful with that based on the numbers. Yep. Right. So I like the fact that you have the foundation of trying to drive that, and I think from what I can tell, it's expanding on searching what makes sense, what can make it better. Absolutely. And then morphing into what type of things you guys can do to actually make a difference in that space, because Absolutely. It's definitely needed. It's definitely
Absolutely
needed.
Absolutely. A lot of times I'm in meetings. It doesn't matter who I'm working with or working as a customer. I'm just in meetings, and typically, only one. Are you like that in corporate America too? I mean, obviously you're in senior level positions at AT&T, and AT&T is a large company. A lot of the times, do you see the same thing as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. It's real apparent there. But AT&T does a decent job of really trying to push the envelope forward in that space compared to other companies I've seen, right? Yep. But just like everyone else, something has to happen to make that shift change a lot faster. Yep. And so the key is, what is that thing? What is that factor to make it happen? Yep. And I have some thoughts on it, but I think you guys can be on the right track towards what I believe can make a difference depending on the scope of what you guys end up being involved with.
Absolutely. You and I need to continue these discussions.
Yeah. I had seen an organization with this sort of the single focus in really hitting the sweet spot in this space, like I see you guys doing. Yep.
Absolutely. Tamara says, you are a positive person and energetic doer. How do you handle negative energy, Jerry?
Negative energy to me is like, when I see it, it's like, it's not a cliche, but to me it's an opportunity, right? Negative energy, I try to look at it like, how can I convert that, right? and it's one of those things where, there are ways of kind of getting people to think differently, but you want to engage and embrace where that negative coming from, which is engage and embrace it, right? And then get them to kind of go along with the whole idea of look at the bright side, look at the positive side, look at what you can do. Don't be afraid. Don't keep coming up with reasons why you can't, right? And I do that with sometimes sharing the challenges with being positive, with being energetic, with saying let's do this and that. And I always lead in with, like when I go into these large teams that I have, I'll say, hey guys, keep in mind, I'm gonna come up with a lot of crazy stuff, right? And my track record is maybe 50% of those things won't work, but you know what? It's up to you guys to find out and let me know if it's gonna work or not. If I come up with something that's crazy, just because I'm the leader of the organization, that doesn't mean I'm telling you to do it. I'm trying to get my organization to understand I'm suggesting it and coming up with an idea that I think will work. And if they think it's crappy, tell me what you think works. And it typically takes 3 months or so after I get into an organization where they really believe that I'm willing to hear them tell me that my idea stinks, right? And then once I get there, then it's easy. But it's always 3 to 4 months where they think I'm coming in to do the traditional, I'm running the organization, what I say goes type scenario, to where I want to really hear what they think, and I want to hear their ideas at par with my ideas, because I believe their ideas are probably just as good as mine, right? And that takes some of the negativity out of it, to your point of people who are naysayers, because they want to get on board, and then they start jumping in. So that's sort of the approach I take with that.
Jerry sees it as an opportunity. That's a good way of looking at it. Typically, I'm not going to talk about on the professional side, but people with negative energy, it's energy sucking, to be honest with you, right? And
yeah, it is.
It means more energy out of you to do that, and to try to convert that energy. And personally, depending on where you are within your life, personally, if there's people that's around me who's negative a lot of the times, I choose not to be around them. Now, in the professional world, of course, I think that's absolutely right, Jerry. You have to be able to try to convert that energy and make sure that it's being channeled to where it's not impacting others, right? But yeah, absolutely.
But to your point, I'm exactly like you when it comes to personal, right?
Yeah.
My thing is, if a person is always complaining, spouting out, issues every time you talk to them is about something that's wrong. Yeah, I just make sure I do what I can and not be part of what they're part of or around when they're around, right? So, because that's a choice, right? So that's what I do with that one, right? Now, but like work or some relatives that you have to be around, right? You can't just diss them, right?
That's true. That is true. We have a good question here from Miss Ashley. She says, I know Antoine spoke on your high energy. How do you think this energy has contributed to your success? That's a good question, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I think, it's contributed to my success from a standpoint of, like I said, not only it's part of my brand, as I call it, it also makes me get up really happy, not to say happy, but looking forward to quote unquote going to work. Because I just love challenges, and I get up seriously like, whoa, I know about this challenge that happened the other day, or I know about this issue that we're trying to work through, and I'm like excited about going in there and saying, hey, I'm gonna make this thing happen, right? So so that drives me to kind of bring a lot of engagement on issues or challenges that people try to stay away from, right? And so if you're the one that's going after the challenge, chasing it, then you're going to get selected to do things because they know you're that type of person, right? For instance, right now I'm in the service management type of organization, which is the team that actually handle like our largest customers, and when there are issues, we have to jump in and solve it, because I'll get a call from a CIO or someone saying, hey, Jerry, it's really bad, I need you to help. I don't even wait for those CIOs or senior leadership calls come in for some of those customers. When something happens, I'll text them in advance and say, hey, you got this thing going on. You might hear about it, but I'm on it. Don't worry about it, right? And then right
proactive.
Away, they're cool, right? They're good. And I'll tell them, I said, I don't even know why it's happening or what's going on, but I'll find out and then let you know. Because that's all they want to know, right? So because the issue will bubble up through the organization, eventually get to them, and they just want to make sure they feel like they have control. And they'll say, yeah, I know about it. I already talked to Jerry, so AT&T's on it. They should have it. And they don't even know what I'm doing about it, right? So I get excited about jumping into the fire to help versus, oh, let's fix this before the CIO calls us, right?
Yeah.
I just go in and do that. And so that's kind of fun for me.
That's a proactive approach too. And, I can only say this, right? High energy, being a person who's positive, who's energetic, it's contagious, right? And others look at that and say that's a leader, right? Especially because it influences others and it influences it is a style that works for some people. But what I would say that is higher energy people overall usually have a lot of success. And what I mean by that, if you think about, and I typically don't use this channel for any political talks, but you think about President Obama, who he was running against, right? President Obama is a high energy type of a person. You think about Donald Trump and Hillary, right? Who's a person with the most energy, right? You think about some of our other past presidents, JFK, right, and who he was running against at the time.
Right.
Who's a person with he was the one who had the most energy, right? So people like high energy people. I think if you look at YouTube and you see how a lot of the best YouTubers start off videos and kind of what they do within their videos when they're shooting, they have high energy.
Right.
It attracts people's attention and it influences others, right? So if you have a high energy level and it is natural, it contributes to your overall success in a lot of ways, I think, personally.
Yeah, I've seen. I kind of keep stretching the envelope, even with my wife when it comes to energy stuff. Hopefully, she doesn't walk in here. But anyway, so it was funny how she talked about me doing that, but it's contagious to the point where she's getting the same way, right?
Yep.
What it was like. It was a Wednesday, right? And I saw this is a Groupon for tandem skydiving, right? And so and I called, and it's like, whoa, that's pretty cool, skydiving, right? And I called, she's at elementary school, and so I asked her about skydiving. She said, sure, why not, right? As soon as she hung up, I called the skydive place. I said, book us for this Saturday, right? And had us lined up to skydive on Saturday. So from Wednesday through Saturday, I booked skydiving, and she went and did it, and we skydived on Saturday.
Wow.
She did it because she just wanted to do something crazy, right? And I wasn't even thinking about skydiving. I was just chilling out doing some work, and I saw a Groupon for skydiving, so I tried it. So,
was that your first time?
It was yeah, I never done it before.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's something that I won't do until I think the kids are out of the house, Jerry. I wouldn't do that yet. I'm a bit afraid of heights, and I said this, right? I wanted to do it before I had kids, but now I think since I support the family, it'd be too much of a risk, man. Because I'll be that 1% that that parachute doesn't open. So no, I'm not going to do it anytime soon.
But that's an extreme example of how
Yep.
She's kind of getting into it, like zip lining, skydiving, that kind of stuff.
That's contagious. High energy people are absolutely contagious, man. We're at that point now, sir. So, 2 last questions.
Sure.
How do you balance work, life, and family? I think that's important.
Yep, definitely. Because I always like going into work or working, that is a challenge because I'm always looking forward to the next thing I'm doing at work and solving something, right? So the fact that I like to work out and go to the gym, that provides that sort of alternate focus to balance that component. And then also, what me and my wife tries to do is we try to always make sure we deliberately schedule, vacations throughout the year, spread out. And then during the week, whenever an opportunity will come up, we'll actually we'll schedule and take it. Like if a concert's coming up or there's an event, we try to make sure we go ahead and schedule and do it. And then that pokes holes in my work schedule so that I'm having that balance, right?
Yep.
So it's scheduling things more so than anything else.
Got it.
Like for instance, we're going to a concert tomorrow. See Justin in Atlanta.
Yep.
And that just came up Monday. A friend called and he said he might take it. So instead of just keeping a work schedule, we went ahead and schedule it. So I have to get off work early enough on Thursday to go tomorrow. But that's how I break it up versus just trying to let it happen naturally. You know, you gotta put in your schedule and deliberately put stuff in the middle of work or between work so that you can have that balance.
Scheduling, planning.
Yep. That's the only way. If I didn't do that, I probably, to the point, work too much. I would.
Which a lot of people do, right? And they find themselves being committed or being unbalanced, as I would say. It's a choice. I do think it's a choice, right? The thing is, you do have to schedule that, and if it's a priority, it should be a priority, especially when there's family involved. So, you have to schedule it though.
Right. A lot of people have this thing about they're working all the time because they're trying to get caught up.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of tell myself and anybody who's around me, it's like there's no such thing as getting caught up because you're always going to have stuff that you're not going to get to.
Yeah.
So why kind of just work yourself 20 hours out of the day for the fact that the next day you still have things that you didn't get to.
Absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely.
There's no such thing as getting caught up.
That's true. There's always something to do. There's always something to do. You have to prioritize it. The most important rocks, the most important things first. So, Yep. All right. So, for a wrap up, I typically ask the guests to, provide 3 takeaways for anyone who comes across this video on Facebook or YouTube. What are 3 takeaways from, this session that you and I have had, this conversation that you want to leave them with?
First, that you're a great moderator.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that, brother.
I think one big thing, and this is for me, really, it's understanding more and looking at the value of Black Heights in terms of the potential impact, right? It's where you guys are tapping into something that we need a lot more of because companies are struggling to do some of that stuff, and if you guys aren't doing, the numbers are going to get even lower. Put it that way. From a standpoint of with me, I would say, this is about energy because that's me, but it will be about something else if it's a different person. So whatever your brand is, whatever you bring to the table, that's your passion. It may be deep logical thinking. When you come in a meeting, people say, wow, you are always in deep thought, and you come up with something cool, right? Then that's you. And then you need to leverage that as that's your contribution to the environment you go in. So I would say know your brand and leverage it so people talk about it no matter where you are. I think the other one is basically when you're in a situation when it comes down to trying to move your career forward, if you are struck by something that looks like, smells like, or halfway seem like fear, then figure out how to get rid of it because that would be your biggest barrier. It wouldn't be skill set, it wouldn't be the job itself, it's just fear. So if you can get rid of that, then you can probably unlock a lot of things in your life in terms of moving forward from a career standpoint in whatever you want. So use the moderator, your brand, and fear.
Awesome. No, I think those are good points. Jerry, I try to get good at a lot of things. One is improving my journalism and talking to some wonderful people and, people like yourself who provide inspiration to me and doing great things in across the world, being a positive role model, being a positive a person that I can look up to and others can look up to, right? Yes, my moderation skills is getting better. I have a long way to go, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better, brother. Know your brand, absolutely. I think that's really important, right? Yours is energy. Mine is presence, I think, and I think I have a pretty good voice. And you have to, you have to recognize what is it that makes you. And you're absolutely right. You really do have to leverage that, right? But part of that is just knowing yourself and being confident with yourself and not trying to be like anybody else and just being yourself, right? That's what it is. And then overcome your fears, right? I think that's very important, Jerry, because there's fear for everything, right? There's fear when you have a baby. There's fear when you walk outside. There's fear when you're driving in a car. There's fear when you get on the airplane, right? Just overcome your fears. Yes, in all forms. You really have to channel that and just do it. I like the whole Nike slogan, right? Just do it, right? There's nothing to be scared about. Nothing is going to be perfect, right? Yeah, just do it.
There you go, Anton. Just jump out that plane, man.
Not happening yet, my man. Well, brother, I can't thank you enough, Jerry. For joining the panel tonight. The session, having this wonderful conversation. I wanted to do this for the people who are watching. If they wanted to get a hold of you, can they follow you on social media or LinkedIn? How's the way that they can contact you if they have questions around something that they're interested in? Is there a way that they can follow you? You got any social media and Instagrams or anything like that you want to share?
Yeah, the quick is LinkedIn, and they can do that. It's in there, so you go in there. It's Blue to Axe, so I'll get you the information.
Got it. Very cool.
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
Awesome. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Black Heights podcast. I really appreciate that you guys chose to spend tonight watching me on live TV, not live TV, live YouTube. And Mr. Jerry Lewis, thank you so much, sir. You got to tell your wife, thank you for letting me steal a little bit of your time. I know it's late there in Atlanta. It's still kind of early for me, but yeah, thank her so much for doing this. And we will talk soon, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man, for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it, man.
Absolutely. Guys, you can catch us again on next Wednesday. I have a great guest coming up for next Wednesday's show as well, guys, so stay tuned. If you like the video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Peace, guys.
All right, guys.